21 years of doing youth ministry. I end up in places I call, it's holy territory. It's like, how did I get here type situations.
We talk about mission.
Yeah.
And it's always like, let me go to some country foreign, right?
Yeah.
And that has its place, and it's good, and it's transformative for so many people. But we forget mission is right in our neighborhood.
Yep. And it's not like there's some higher calling that I have to pursue just because I'm getting older.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like what I'm doing here is really important. And if you look around, even just our city alone, there are so many kids that not one person is praying for. We're all close enough to mission right where we live, no matter what our context is. I mean, the truth is everyone needs a relationship with God and with Jesus. And so that is something that is not far away from us, no matter where we're at.
This is what Catholic youth ministry looks like.
Exploring the 5 M's of ministry.
With Brandon Morel, also known as a symbol.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. This is what Catholic youth ministry looks like. And today I got a friend of mine, somebody that we've been building for a while, Kirk Foote. What's up, Kirk?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm good.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So, Kirk, let's tell people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we'll we'll iron out why I decided to bring you in here.
Well, I live here in New York City. I'm the Associate Regional Director for Young Life here in the Greater New York City area. And so I work alongside some amazing staff here all across in all the boroughs. A lot of youth ministry happening all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. So Young Life. Okay. If you guys been following, I big up Young Life. Has been a big part of my own journey and connecting with youth ministry. But let's talk about that. You coming to Young Life.
Yeah.
And also, you're saying you're in New York City, but you're not originally from New York City.
True.
So let's talk through all of those things.
True. Yeah. No, I grew up in the Midwest. So I grew up in the Midwest, worked with Young Life there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So 21 years of doing youth ministry in the trenches with kids.
Hang on, I know it's that long, 21 years.
Yeah, 21 years there.
Yeah.
And then another 8 here.
Wow.
So I'm in my 8th year here in New York City. So about 8 years ago, I got a call, actually in March, about 8 years ago, got a call by a friend of mine that was leading work with Young Life out here. And he was like, would you ever?
Ah.
And I said, maybe, because God had been tugging on us for about 3 years. My wife and I knew that God was moving. We just didn't know how.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so we were living in a neighborhood, very entrenched in the neighborhood, had really done a lot of community development efforts in that neighborhood, but also felt like God was calling us to share, the next half of my ministry years with sharing it with others and helping others kind of hear ways to be doing ministry that's contextual, that's thoughtful, that's prayerful, all the things that go into ministry, but not to just be doing it myself, but find ways to share that with others.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. So, okay. I don't know if you feel comfortable but sharing this, but I know this because I know you. But talk with me the JP2 story. I just know our audience, and I know that's gonna.
All right. So this is being not a non-Catholic myself.
Right.
This is my street cred story. So my best friend growing up was in the Catholic Church. He was Catholic. And so we spent a lot of time growing up going to midnight mass at Christmas or whatever that looked like, where I was in his home all the time. And so we spent a lot of time connected. And so I was able to observe, the Catholic faith very closely as a non-Catholic. So I'm grateful for that.
And what was your family background also, just for context?
Yeah, we grew up a Protestant, so we were in a denomination that's small, but it was kind of typical evangelical, denomination. And so did that, grew up in that context. And so I was really growing and learning without trying about the Catholic Church, just kind of being close to my close friend. Okay. So Frank, my friend Frank, Francis.
Okay.
So Frank was an amazing man who had a genetic neuromuscular disease that eventually took his life when we were both 42. But before that, he had a relative that really wanted to help him get to the Vatican. And Frank was really close with the Archbishop in the Minneapolis St. Paul Diocese.
That's crazy. You got friends with the Archbishop,
Right.
close friends. Yeah.
Well, so he connected him to a papal audience. And so when the opportunity was coming up to go to Rome, and so we ended up in Rome. This is a while back, so it was pre like all of the tech. So we were told a fax was being sent to us at our hotel, at our whatever we were staying at. It was a place run by my nuns there, and a fax was supposed to come in and tell us what to do, so we would get what we needed to get information wise. So we ended up getting a fax that said go to the bronze door on a Wednesday to the papal address to the world, and John Paul II was going to be speaking, of course, and doing that. And so we just kept going and saying bronze door,
Yeah.
and we ended up.
So you were just asking people around where the bronze door is?
Yes, we did not know where to go once we got to the Vatican. We just kept, and people kept pointing us deeper and deeper into the Vatican. And so we eventually ended up at a bronze door.
Okay.
And behind the door, after hopping up Frank was in a wheelchair. So eventually bumping up a few steps into this office, our name was on a list.
Wow.
And we got whisked away down like a hallway in the Vatican and taken to the front row of the Wednesday papal address to the world. So we're sitting there and, just kind of how did we get here? This is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
At the conclusion of that time, then they take you up to be blessed by the Holy Father. So you get taken up. So I'm pushing Frank up there. And we had an interaction with him right up on stage, right? And he was struggling health-wise already at that point. And so I have some photos to prove it that we were there, and it was a transformative.
They weren't AI generated. 'Cause
They were
before
not.
all of that.
No, they are real. Even a little grainy,
Yeah.
There was an official photographer that was there, and we went and got the pictures on the street afterwards. So it was amazing. It was a transformative experience for me. My best friend, it was the highlight of his life. And for me to be able to be there for that and experience that was, again, God preparing me for conversations like this.
Yeah. No, that's dope, man.
Yeah.
And I got to say this, like, I appreciate just you because I actually didn't know this part about the bronze doors,
Yeah.
right? There's no GPS,
Nothing.
no.
We did not know what we were doing. But God just kept, God was doing it, but also we were just like kept stepping until we were at the right spot.
Yeah, no, it's funny because in my brain, like I know in our conversation, for those of you guys that follow and know what I'm doing here, the 5 M's of ministry, one of them is the mission territory, right? And it's ironic, like that's going out, you're kind of seeking, you don't know where's the Holy Spirit leading you, where's it, in this case, where did this fax taking me to, right? And I think that's a interesting land, to kind of give us some context.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things there's a lot of things, but one of the things I've appreciated specifically about the Young Life collaboration is being intentional on how we outreach and how we connect, and how we are present in young people's lives from time to time. So yeah, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to that, just as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that I've chosen and been called to the style of ministry that I have been able to be a part of with Young Life, and that's just because of the outreach side of it. Like that is my calling in life, is to go find kids, people out in the world, in the community, whether it's places that I live or helping equip others to go do the same. And so outreach is my favorite part of the ministry that God's called me to. So I end up in places I call, it's holy territory. It's like, how did I get here type situations. I've been in the living room of a 2-bedroom apartment with 22 people living in it and 1 bathroom, trying to get camp forms signed, and just being like, God, thank you for this. Because how did I get here as a kid that grew up in a very different context, and I feel blessed in those moments. And God gives me an image of himself in places like that is different than the images that I had of him growing up.
Yeah, and I mean, and I like to say this all the time because I think we talk about mission.
Yeah.
And it's always like, let me go to some country foreign, right?
Yeah.
And that has its place and it's good and it's transformative for so many people. but we forget mission is right in our neighborhood.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
We're all close enough to mission right where we live, no matter what our context is. I mean, the truth is everyone needs a relationship with God and with Jesus. And so that is something that is not far away from us, no matter where we're at. And yeah, you don't have to go to great lengths to find that. You may have to get uncomfortable and be in a place or in a setting that you're not used to, but you still can get access to that very close to you.
Hey, so I'm on the move. So I need to pause for a second to let you know that I've had a relationship with Young Life for some time now. But now I'm stepping into more of a full-time role here in the greater New York City area. And so I need your help. Number one, we need prayer. And secondly, if you can head to the link on the screen, also provided in the description below, and you can make a donation. It could be a one-time donation. It could be monthly. It could be multiple times a year. Whatever you feel like can help us sustain this ministry as we do outreach here in New York City. Yeah, man. I think it's funny because I'm thinking of last summer in
Yeah.
Connect. I had a moment. You use a phrase right now about this being holy ground.
Yeah.
That's a powerful image in my brain because what came to mind was we were at camp, Young Life Camp at Lake Champion, and we were there the same week, and there was a moment where there was dinner and they played music and people finished eating and they were like they were kind of dancing. Kids were just dancing, having a good time.
Yeah.
Right? And then leaders started showing up and I started looking around and you can see different cultural backgrounds, different ethnic backgrounds, different ages. And there was just like this moment of joy. I had a moment. I don't think I've even told you this. I had a moment. I stood up and I looked around and I was like, this is what heaven looks like.
It is.
Like I genuinely had what we call like a moment of ecstasy experience. I was like, this is what heaven looks like.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
Romans, what is it? Romans 7:9, where we get that sneak peek of what the kingdom looks like.
Right.
And it's kind of an amazing, we don't get enough of those moments, but when they happen, man, it's a beautiful thing.
Right. And similar to you, I mean, when you do a ministry, there's a family that invites you to a birthday party or invites you to
Or Revelation 7:9.
connection.
Sorry, I'm going to fix that.
Oh,
really
yeah,
quick.
yeah. That's
sorry.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, no, being present in people's lives, right? Are there any, because the goal of what I'm doing here is, I think so many times we get caught up on, is the teaching perfectly correct? Forever?
Yeah.
But it's just like, okay, wait, stop. Let's dial that back. Not that that's not important. Let's dial that back and figure out how are we engaging people just on a normal human level, not like it's a classroom, not like we have to, how are we, being personable with people? And I think growing up in different contexts, there are some things that we can think practically that help us. Do you have any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would never profess to be an amazing speaker. I would never. God did not. That's not my jam. That's not my thing. Am I willing to go publicly speak if God, sets that up in front of me? Even doing this is a little uncomfortable for me. So is that something that I'm willing to do with God, behind me? Absolutely. But I do know there's other folks such as yourself who are really talented and gifted in that way. Where I win is being consistent and faithful. And so, there's something about just continuing to show up, being faithful to the calling that God's given you. And so I can't explain a lot of the relationships that I have with young people because I don't know how I got there, but I know it's mostly connected to my prayer life, my walk with the Lord, and being faithful and consistent. And so, if you're listening to this and you feel like, if you feel like you're somebody that God can't use me, I'm not relevant enough, I'm not great speaking, I'm not amazing at being up front and doing all those things. It's like, you know what you can be? Consistent and faithful.
Ooh, that's good.
And so that is something that God has allowed me to lean into. And can I communicate? Yeah, I can go stand up and communicate if I need to. And especially when it's something that I feel like God's called me to say, but also I'm just grateful that he's given me the patience to keep showing up.
Yeah, no, even that's powerful, especially like now where, you look at all the statistics about what's happening in homes and what's happening in schools and what's happening. and there's so many inconsistencies. So
Yeah.
when you as an adult can be a consistent presence and a consistent positive presence, that in itself speaks.
One thing that I say, I don't know where, I don't think it's coined very broadly, but we're so in ministry that's incarnational. So in the
Right.
flesh, right? We're fleshing it out. We're so irrelevant, we're relevant. Okay. And what I mean by that is that the relevant thing is to be on an iPhone and be looking at, be coming up in a kid's feed on Instagram. And yeah, we can do all that. Like that's not like a negative thing. But we're so irrelevant, we're relevant, meaning like when we actually show up in a kid's life, it matters. When I see a kid on the train platform and I'm like, yelling at that kid from down, if, you're not embarrassing the kid, hopefully, but, being like, what's up? And talking to that kid on the platform, I can't tell you how much that speaks volumes into that kid's life. It happened to me yesterday. I was on 125th in Harlem and I saw a kid that comes to the gym on Sunday nights and I was like, yelled the kid's name out. He was about 10 feet away from me and he had his headphones on, of course, and we ended up having a great conversation on the platform, and he showed up that night to the gym, which he wasn't sure if he was going to go before that. And so there's something about just being present and in the community and really being finding ways to get deep into the lives of kids to where they really are at.
Yeah, can we pause right there just to also, I'm thinking, let's give some context, because that's one particular part of the ministry, right?
Yeah.
What you do on Sunday nights. So let's...
Yeah, the basketball thing, you want me to talk about that
Yeah,
a
let's talk
little
about
bit?
Wild Hoops.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Wild Hoops is in New York City, if you roll a ball out into a gym, especially if the weather is not amazing, because, there's all kinds of outdoor courts out there, but a nice gym, if you throw a roll of ball out on it, kids will show up. And so we've learned that a long time ago. And so we have tons of kids show up to a gym. We have a few different open gyms around the city that we take advantage of those gyms. And so on Sunday nights, we'll have anywhere from 30 to 70 kids packed into a little gym at a church over on Riverside Drive, Riverside Church over there. Pack kids into that gym, and then we do open runs. Like right now, we're in the middle of a league that we have going on. But the humorous part on it is that, again, back to that consistent and faithful, I mean, the last time I played basketball for real was in like 7th grade, and I figured out quickly, this is not my game, And so God has a sense of humor of taking me into places that I'm like, you're not necessarily equipped to do this, from like you don't have a resume that says you're going to be the basketball organizer and all that.
Yeah.
But again, like I can use the gifts that God has given me to organize the heck out of that thing and make it so that we have radical hospitality when kids come into the gym, and it's like a place where they are like, something is different about this place. And we know that the something different is that the Holy Spirit is there, that God is with us, and that we are trying to shine a light on who Christ is. But they don't know that. They just know
and you
something
guys are
different.
intentional in
Right.
how you're serving them and how you're showing up for them.
Exactly.
And then even with the gospel proclamation, yeah.
Last night, we had one of our staff actually shared his testimony. He was talking about how Christ has revealed himself to him. And so just the story of how he was very much in the same shoes as many of the kids in the gym. Him telling that story, I can't tell that story, but having Jaquan there to do that,
Jaquan, yeah.
Jaquan can do that, and I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And but I recognize that, and I'm not trying to fake it that I can. So,
well, that's one, right? Okay, so because what I was hearing is we've named a few things about, right, being consistent, being present, but this thing about being real and being authentically who you are, I think, is another clear key factor in showing up in kids' lives.
Yeah, I could just try to go to urbandictionary.com and figure out what all the hot terms are right now and be dropping all those things when I'm talking to kids, and kids would look at me like, who are you trying to be? Right? Or I can just be me and love kids well and be consistent and faithful, and kids are going to be like, this guy is not that guy, but he is a person that really does care about me.
It's funny because I've had even that I've had youth ministers, or I would say not even on the parish level, kind of involved in other ways, because I am the guy that knows. I use those terms, right?
You do know the words, and it's natural for you. And if
it's
you
natural for me.
If you didn't use them, I'd be concerned.
Right. But what I'm saying is and the reason why I'm speaking to what you're saying is I've had them contact me and be like, hey, what is this word for my kid? Can I use this?
You're like,
My
time out.
teens
Not
are talking
that.
this.
Not that. Not that.
Right. So like, I mean, I think it's helpful to know, right? Maybe because you do want to know what the kids are talking about and being kind of active in their
Absolutely.
lives.
That's
But,
educating yourself,
right. But not feeling like I have to use it.
No.
Yeah.
And I do use the ones that make sense. I might be 6 months behind or a year behind or 3 years behind.
Yeah.
But I try to use things in a way that are not embarrassing myself, but also being real and letting kids know, like, I don't have to be that. And you've got somebody, I can't even explain, again, a lot of the relationships that I have, but I have kids that, I'm not even supposed to be in the trenches the way I am on some level with the role that I'm in with Young Life.
Yeah.
And I still have kids that I've gotten to know just because I keep showing up, that will still reach out and be like, yo, can you pray for me? I just found out my sister has cancer. We've got a kid that's dealing with that right now here in the Bronx. And she reached out to myself and one of our other female volunteers. And she was like, can you be praying for me? I need somebody. I don't know who's going to pray for me if you guys don't.
Right. Right. I mean, I'll just say when my son texted me because you were at his school.
Right. And thank
Right.
God, that was fun for me to bump into him.
Yeah.
But that is how I stay, quote unquote, relevant, is being where kids are at. I need to do that. If I was just continuing to stay behind my desk, I don't think I would be able to be a good leader in this space. And so, but I love it too. Like, I love that I was at Cardinal Hayes. I love that I was there and I ran into your son. But also in the 3 days that I was there, I got to know kids, and kids shared their lives with me too. And God blessed me with that.
I want to pause for a brief moment to let you know that this series was brought to you and it was produced by Kari Films. Kari Films is a Catholic media production company whose mission is to capture the beauty of the Catholic faith. They do this through capturing live events. They do this through podcasts, testimonials, music videos, and more. You can find out more about them in the description below. Now let's get back to it. Yeah. So, okay, that let's talk about that really quickly too, because that's the Scholas program you guys are connected to. So yeah.
So Scholas is something that we've collaborated with. It's not specifically, it's something that Pope Francis created in Argentina before he was the Pope. They had gone through a lot of leadership change in their country, and he recognized that he wanted the youth to speak on what their country really needed. I think they had either 6 or 9 presidents in 10 days or something like that. It was something that just seems out of, like, there's no way. And so he was like, let's get the youth of the city to come together from a variety of religious contexts. So it was not just Catholic kids. It was not just Christian kids. It was not just even people that were Christ followers. But it was any kid in the city. And so that has spilled over into the future. Now they're still doing that. And it's an initiative that he's excited about and has expanded. So Scholas goes out into the city here and does different programs where they're asking kids to help be a part of the solution of the social challenges of our communities. So kids will verbalize that. So anyway, we've met a lot of kids through being connected to that, grateful for that organization. And that was what was happening at Cardinal Hayes at that time. So we had 4 of our Young Life staff that were just there for 3 days straight, connecting with kids from all over the city. And a lot of great things have come out of that. It was just a great moment in time, but it was also like there's lots of ways that new opportunities have come out of that, as well as just a deepening of relationships with those that are leading the Scholas program. So
right. So I'm naming these things on purpose because I think there's practical ways of doing this, right? So if we're looking at mission territory and we're looking at how we're present in kids' lives, right, there are some formal ways of doing that. So having an organized time that you get together, and the example you gave was YO Hoops, right?
Yeah.
But also connecting with other things that are happening, whether that be the school or these programs that go into schools, and finding ways to collaborate that way. Is there any other ways that you can name that are like concrete?
I just think trying to get adults that are either already in the trenches with kids, out there where kids are at, or putting yourself in a place like, hey, I'm going to be a coach. I mean, it can be. We were shocked pre-COVID. We were trying to figure out what are some new and creative ways we can reach kids. Well, we had somebody that was interested in the game of chess.
Okay.
So, dude is like, let's do a chess club. So, we went to a church nearby the school and said, hey, does anybody here play chess? Do you want to go play chess and teach kids how to play chess? So they had, I think there was 30 volunteers in the church that, that were saying, I'm interested in not finding out more about that. Then we go to the school and say, we have some adults from this nearby church that would be willing to come in and teach kids how to play chess. 66 kids in the school signed up to learn how to play chess.
Wow.
So in the lunchtime, pre-COVID, we were having adults stop by the school and teach kids how to play chess. In the meantime, they're building relationships with kids while that's going on. And some of that, we still have a relationship with that school where we're doing a mentoring program, every week, couple days a week in that school still, where that opened up the doors for us to be more deeply connected to kids there. Who knew that chess was going to do that?
I mean, hey, the Holy Spirit will use what he uses.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, in New York, chess is a big deal, but I don't know if that works everywhere.
Right.
But you have to pay attention to what will work where you're at,
Okay, so yeah, all right. So let's keep going down the list, though, right? Because I think I've named for people locally within the parish context. There's these things that I like to call the spheres of influence that we have with kids. So it might be the local Catholic school, it might be the altar servers, it might be a confirmation program, it might be maybe some parishes host Boy Scouts, right? Like that's a sphere of influence. But then thinking beyond that, what are the other public schools in the area? Where are the parks they're hanging out at? Like, how would you, if you had to like name a list of how you start thinking of where they're at? What do you think of that?
Yeah, you named a few of them there. I mean, it seems we go to where kids are at. And so when you find out that a kid works at a bodega, then if you're going to choose which one to go to, choose the one that you know that kid works at.
Right.
If you're going to go to a park and you've heard kids drop that, that they go to that particular park, well, that's the park you're going to go to then. You have a lot of choices. And so when you start to hear, or you just be intentional about, I'm going to go to the one down the block and see who's there. And by playing basketball with kids on the court, or whether it's whatever that looks like for you, finding ways to be, where kids are at. And so, so parks, and then schools, obviously we talk about, the schools, it's challenging here, to get into a school. You can't just go to a sporting event that's in the walls of the school typically, because you don't just pay admission and go.
Well, in other parts of the country, that's normal.
In other parts of the country, you just kind of show up to a football game on a Friday night and the whole community is there and you just pay your $3, $5 to get in the door. Here, you got to be on a list to get into most of the public school buildings in particular, to see an athletic contest here. So those things take social capital. They take, time spent to get even permission to be in the building. But once you get it, and once you have the connection with the school, then that opens up all kinds of doors, for us as ministers of the gospel, whether we're paid ministers of the gospel or volunteers that are trying to do that. So schools, parks, I'm trying to think of, we just started an arts and athletics official venture with Young Life. And so we're trying to reach more into the arts now than we've ever done before, which we'll probably be more connected to you on, around some of the musical interests that kids have, theater interests, visual arts. These are all things that kids are already wanting to be a part of. But man, a lot of the funding has been taken away from that in public schools in particular. But even in non-public schools, I mean, it doesn't matter what school, it's hard to find funds for all that stuff these days. And so we try to be in those, the gaps there and have people that are Christian people, faithful people, to go be the ones that are interacting with kids.
Right. And I don't want to speak about this first because I know that like some people hearing that, like one, there's a fear, right? Of, oh, but man, I'm fearful to step into these places for various reasons. or I'm fearful because maybe just even how I manage my time because of these other things I got going on.
Yeah.
What do we speak to that fear?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fear is real, and you have to get over that. And the only way to get over, I mean, I have a fear of working out right now, which is not a fear of yours, but I need to get over the hump on that by just getting out there and doing it. And so there's a part of it is just being faithful to go do it. You can only read so many books that tell you what to do. You can only go to so many trainings.
Right.
Now you can go to a training and you can read books, and those things are helpful.
Yep.
But I think it's important to note that if you don't actually get out there and do it here, so go with somebody, think of, who can apprentice you to do that. So don't go alone, always go in pairs, do something with somebody. Don't be a lone ranger out there trying to go do these things. Ministry is so much more fun if you do it with somebody.
Yeah.
And you also have a lot more comfort when you do that as an adult. You're trying to not just be this, who's the creepy guy hanging around versus who are the two creepy, no, but there is something about doing things in pairs that I think is valuable. So, those are some tips as far as kind of getting over the hump. There is stuff out there to read. There are online trainings. There are things, listening to stuff like this is valuable. But a lot of it is just saying, all right, I'm going to go for it and being faithful with that.
So what about because I think sometimes, and we've talked about this before, but I know it's it's very real, that sometimes we forget what it's like to be on the outside.
Yeah, one of my favorite authors is Henry Nouwen. And so in a book that I actually brought with me tonight, I don't know if you can see this, but Life of the Beloved, it's an excellent book. And, he became friends with a guy that was interviewing him from the New York Times. And that guy described himself as a secular Jewish person. That was the person described themselves that way. And so he said, after striking up a friendship with Henry Nouwen, who was a Catholic priest, at the time he was at Yale when they started their friendship. And, I think as their friendship matured, he was like, the conversations that they were having were not really hitting him from a faith standpoint. And so the guy whose name is Fred in the book, says, how about you write a book for me? And so Henry Nouwen is like, cool. He's excited about it. He writes this whole book, which ends up being this book.
Okay.
Gives it to his friend, this guy who would become his good friend. And his friend reads the book and comes back to him. And Henry Nouwen is so pumped. He's like, I can't wait to hear how amazing my book was for him. And the guy tells him, you don't even know how far I am from the starting point that you gave me in that book.
Right.
He says, I'm so much further back than that. You think that you're writing it at my starting point and you rolled it back to where I was at. He said, me and my friends aren't even close to that. And so it was humbling for him as a writer, as a priest, to be like, man, have I forgotten what it looks like to really be in the world that a lot of the world is in, the world that's detached from faith. And so I think for us as ministers, we have to figure out, what does it look for us to go back and find out what's it like to be without Christ?
Right.
And we do that by proximity.
That's a big one.
Yeah. I mean, were you going to say
something?
something?
No. I was going to say, I think proximity in multiple ways. So
Yeah.
proximity in physical proximity to other people that don't think like you.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes we say, and again, this is one of the things I love also about the Young Life collaboration is, even though we come from these different faith traditions of Christianity, we're like, okay, no, we all love Jesus and we all have a common goal. We agree on these basic things.
Yeah.
And we know we're going to trust the Holy Spirit in the process
Yep.
of us working together, right? But so being able to understand and hear the other side rather than only hearing about it on the internet or only hearing about it in a book. And so you have this foreign concept. But then there's also, I think, of practical, like even the JP2 thing, right? Like I know a lot of priests, and a lot of people talk about like JP2 was so good of knowing because even like he would read the Nazis' books to know how they think, right? In our case, we were talking about this before. knowing the music that the kids are listening
Absolutely.
to, knowing the YouTube channels they're subscribed to, who are the streamers they're watching.
I watch Kai Cenat just to know what's going on.
Right.
Like
right.
it starts out. I mean, first of all, he went to FDA, which is a high school right down the block from where I live. And so, and he was wild in high school and fun. He showed up on a white horse to prom. And so they knew at that time something was happening there, but, paying attention to things like that in culture. I mean, I'm a DJ, and so I always want to know the music the kids are listening to. Whenever I do a dance, a high school dance, I mean, it's more research than it is fun for me. Like, kids are always giving me the music that they actually want to listen to. And so you walk away from that going like, all right, this is where kids are at. This is what they're interested in. This is the music they're interested in, the style that they're interested in. I even learned this music you can play on this block, but you can't play it on that block.
Right.
I was DJing at a high school football game in the Bronx, and I played a certain artist that the whole football team in unison turned and looked at me, and they were like, stop, because the arch rival of that artist lived across the block from where the field was at.
Gotcha.
And they're like, and for me, I did not know that.
Right.
I probably shouldn't have been playing that song in the first place. But I learned a lot in that moment about where kids are coming from and how music plays out in neighborhoods and everything too. So yeah, we need to be out there learning, and also we don't do that without asking questions. I mean, even having we have a student leadership council of kids
That's good. Yeah.
that are at a higher level we were really investing in, but those kids are almost like a focus group for me every week that I can ask cultural questions to them. I mean, I don't want to be somebody's uncle and always be asking the question, right? But at the same time, it's like kids are willing to share. No, this is where we're actually at, and my friends are at. So it's helpful.
This book, based upon my song, Last Words, Lift My Hands, is a 30-day devotional now available on Amazon, just to help you in your prayer journey. Go pick that up. Check it out. Yeah, so look, I mean, I think we've given a couple practical tips, right? So I think it helps for people with minds to recap it, right? So one, I'm gonna name this by saying listening more than you speak.
Yes.
Right? Like actually being curious
Actually.
about where people are
Genuinely
at.
curious.
Genuinely curious, right? So that there's the formal aspects of connecting, whether that at your own program, your own space, or connecting with others.
Yep.
Right? There's the kind of survey of the area, the neighborhood, actually where you're at. There's the being present. There's the being consistent. These are all things that I think anybody who works in ministry can be like, okay, where have I been? Let me do a quick self-evaluation, SWOT analysis, right? Of where am I at with this, and then figure out how to increase in those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to, if you're professionally in it, you better be doing that.
Right.
If you're a layperson, that's trying to, you can be either asking the people that are leading you in your lay role that you're in, if you have folks that are steering you, or you can yourself try to figure out, we can't, just because somebody's a professional in ministry doesn't mean they know everything.
Right.
So
right.
Definitely.
Right. Any other major thoughts that you think from you, you think people need to know when they're doing outreach and when they're looking at these things?
I mean, I would say a couple hallmarks that I would make sure I mention. One is you got to be out there. And it's not something that we're just trying to bring kids to our program.
Right.
We need to go where kids are at. And where are kids at? Well, that's what you have to figure out in your neighborhood. It might be a park. It might be a gym. It might be at a school. Whatever that looks like where you're at, we have to leave the comfort of our adult worlds and go into the world of kids. And it's going to be uncomfortable. I had a high school I played one semester of college lacrosse at a club level, and I did not know what I was doing. I mean, I barely knew the game, right? Fast forward to, I ended up playing catch with some kids in a park with some lacrosse sticks, and they're like, can we play this as a game? This is many years ago. And I said, I think so. Let's explore that.
Yeah.
Fast forward 8 years, we had 115 kids at that high school playing lacrosse. It was bigger than the football program at that particular school. And we started a girls program, and I had 6 coaches that I hired that were all Christian men that were coaching those 115 kids at that school. And I had massive amounts of them going to camp with me in the summertime. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I was out there, and I happened to show up with some lacrosse sticks, and we were, these things happen.
Yeah.
And so, similarly, I had an experience where I never played an orchestral instrument in my life, but I knew a couple kids that played in the orchestra.
Okay.
And they were the camp that they were going to take their fall retreat to, bailed on them. And I said, well, we have this Young Life camp a couple hours outside the city. How about we take the orchestra up to the camp? Let me call up there and see if it's available. All of a sudden, we had the whole orchestra at the Young Life camp.
Oh, wow. That's dope.
And then all these kids started coming to Young Life Club because of all the relationships. I took volunteers with me on that weekend. We did a talent show up at the camp. We did all kinds of fun things. And all of a sudden, we have mad kids showing up that are orchestra kids, which I don't even know, how did God do that,
Yeah.
But the couple kids that I knew to talk to me and tell me about the problem, and I listened and activated.
Right.
So I think I would just encourage people to be listening for how God's moving, and he's going to take you to places that are uncomfortable. I ended up coaching high school lacrosse for 8 years. I never would have guessed that. I ended up going on field trips across the country with the orchestra from that high school.
That's crazy.
Because the orchestra director enjoyed me and was like, you want to come and be a chaperone with us on this trip? So I ended up in Denver and Chicago and New York with the orchestra from that high school. And I'm like, how did I get here? And so a lot of it is just being willing to listen and activate.
Yeah. So actually doing it, activate, being there. But also, because it's funny, you're saying things, but I'm like, I'm going to name them. It's also being open to be innovative and creative too. Like, because sometimes we fall too much into the, well, we don't do that, or I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that could have been your excuse.
Could have been.
It could have been, but that also left out an opportunity to actually bring young people to Jesus.
I mean, one tangential story off of that lacrosse thing is one of my captains ended up taking his life and dying of suicide. And it was tragic. It was one of the saddest and hardest things I've ever been a part of as an adult, as a person. But if we hadn't started that program, we wouldn't have been around when that happened. I mean, we don't know what the variables are, but God was able to allow us to hold an event 2 days after he passed away, where we had 250 kids from that high school show up to a community center that we rented, and kids had a safe space to process what happened.
Wow.
And as I had all of our Young Life people there, all of our, I had pastors from the neighborhood come out, the community come out. And so it's just, you never know what God's going to do by being faithful. And I love that. And I was scared to death to go run that service or whatever we were doing in that community room. I called people and got as much help as I could before that night. And at the same time, God really used it. And I still have kids that I'm connected to because of that. And a lot of kids came to faith through that. And so it's not that God doesn't create those things. That kid's life never should have been gone on many levels. It was just really a sad, horrible thing. But God does use all things to his glory. And if we're as Christians out there, we get to be present for these moments. And it's an amazing thing.
No, that's good. Any final thoughts just before we kind of wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, as I think about it, my encouragement to people that are watching this is that after 28 years, I still enjoy what I'm doing. And I think to me, that's maybe a little surprising. Like I wouldn't have known I'd still be doing this after 28 years. And yet it's a huge gift to me. It's a gift to my family. My life is a different life than I would have ever expected to live. And it's not like there's some higher calling that I have to pursue just because I'm getting older.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like what I'm doing here is really important. And if you look around, even just our city alone, there are so many kids that not one person is praying for. So how can we be praying for kids that we meet a kid one time? We should be writing that name down, right? And praying for that kid, because there's mad kids in the city that no one is praying for. They don't have an auntie or an uncle or a grandma or a mother or a father that's praying for them because maybe they don't have their own context for faith. So as soon as we get a name, write that name down and be praying for that. And that's what keeps me in the game. I love meeting kids that nobody else is interacting with from a faith standpoint. And so to me, that energizes me, gets me out of bed every morning to not only do it myself, but to help equip other people to do that too. And so we need more people that are willing to give their lives away. This is not work for the lighthearted or it's hard work, and kids are going to give you hard things, and kids are going to reject you, and there's going to be hard days. But also there's just amazing moments when God uses you, even in the hard things. And so keep the faith, keep going. And I hope that I finish my career doing this thing. I hope I'm an old man doing this thing. They say kids like grandparents more than their parents anyway.
Yeah.
So the older I get, I hope I continue to be somebody that kids can lean on.
Yeah, no,
So-
amen. And I'll add, like, again, I mean, if y'all know my story, I am the one that I didn't have a family I was praying. So getting out there, being in the mission, being in the community, I'm personally somebody that wouldn't have been reached. So I pray that you guys can see that, look forward to your
Amen.
community, and figure out how you can, make those next steps, make those adjustments, however small, however big they need to be. If you're a pastor, if you're a youth minister, if you're a DRE, whoever you are watching this right now, just go check out beatthesymbol.com, sign up for the email list. We'll talk a little bit more. You can get some more practical tips and resources of how you can do this. And make sure you're praying for us. Pray for the mission of Young Life. Pray for the mission of how we're reaching young people in our city. And wherever you are, you can go and reach kids in your city, in your community, in your neighborhood. Be the symbol, y'all. God bless.
Amen.
Peace.